Okay.
Good afternoon, Kat.
Hey, Dan.
We're live.
Live. Woo-hoo. Again.
Oh, gosh. Well, we've got a good, oh, goodness gracious. Let's see.
Oh, and I got to introduce this on TikTok here. So I'm going to go live. 3, 2, 1. Hi, guys. Kat Howard here with Windermere in Woodinville. And I've got with me Dan Mellis. You'll hear his voice, but you can't see his face. He's a lender that my daughter and I have worked with frequently. So he's going to give us the lending side of things, and I'll present you with the local real estate stats for Snohomish, King, and Pierce counties. So, all right, take it away, Dan.
Without further ado, here we go, Kat. So, a few things that I've pulled together for our live stream today. Just some background on why the market is so tight and why it's probably not gonna loosen up anytime in the foreseeable future. Okay, so first thing we're looking at is the percentage of mortgages that with the equity in the mortgages, and you can see. If you go back to 2000, this goes back to 2013, doesn't quite go back to 2009. Back in 2013, you had approximately 35% of the mortgages with 60% equity. And that number has gone up from 35% roughly to about a little over 50% today. And so you've got a lot more equity in the house than we've had, say, 10 years ago, a lot more. And you can see the striations on the chart. Sorry for your TikTok listeners, watchers, they can't see this. But anyway, there has been a significant increase in equity in homes, which makes sense because home prices have gone up. So if you owned a house in 2013, it's worth a lot more today, plus you've been paying off your mortgage. So all that stuff makes sense. We'll move to the next picture. The next slide, and that's basically the percentage of homes, the percentage of mortgage rate, right, for homes outstanding. So for example, see if I can spit this out, but basically you've got about 20% of the homes out there right now that have a mortgage at under 4%, right? You've got 50% of the homes out there with the mortgage under 5%. And then the rest of them, so you can see a lot of these mortgages that are out there are really locked up. They've got a lot of equity, plus they've got a lot of low interest rates that are in effect. And it has the effect, especially for the really low interest rates, of taking homes off the market. Who wants to sell a house when you've got a lot of equity and 3% interest rates if you're going to be going into right now it's roughly a 7% interest rate. So it doesn't make a lot of financial sense for a lot of folks to sell, and it's taking some homes off the market. So
no local moves, Dan.
What's that?
No local moves. Nobody's selling their house here and then buying another one here.
That's right. That's right.
Very exactly. Few people, unless it's a real change of life situation. For instance, like somebody retiring, right?
Yeah.
So then maybe they want to sell their 2-story and purchase a condo, probably with the cash they have left over. Just saying.
That's right. That's exactly right. I mean, it's but I don't think there's any question. It's disrupted the normal flow of buying and selling and putting
for sure.
in the market and all that kind of stuff. And then a couple more things. This is just confirming what we've kind of already talked about for the last several weeks, really, but it's just confirming those things. Taking a look at existing home inventory. If you look at existing home inventory in 2007, we were looking at 2007 was right at the peak of the housing, right before the housing crash, right? But what had happened is you had a large accumulation of inventory in 2006 and 2007, and we got to existing home inventory got to over 4 million units. Right now, it's sitting at less than 1/4 that amount. It's sitting at just a smidge under 980,000 units. So
25% of that? Oh, that's right.
Yeah. That's a national statistic, but
Right.
it's
That's
very
still
similar.
shocking.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you've got
No.
20. So for those that are
I had a
thinking that,
bunch of listings back there in 2007. I think I had 10. I think I had 10 on the market when the market tanked.
well,
That's not a good look, folks. You don't
no,
want 10 listings when the market starts to tank. When it switches direction like that, you need to get out. Go move to the coast for a year or two. That's what I did. I did too.
well, there's nothing like the ocean to go over and lick your wounds and look at the surf.
Soothe those fretted nerves.
Yes, it's very calming. Yes. So
Oh my God.
every day you get better and better every day in every way. Anyway,
Oh my
so
God.
I'll go back. So we'll.
Those are some memories. We really don't. We
Not
don't want to
always good.
revisit that, in any way, shape, or form. So
No,
it looks like we're not going to. I'm very happy about that.
Yes, this is not. I mean, and that's the thing. You hear in our business, as a realtor, mortgage guy, you hear quite a bit that, hey, I'm nervous because interest rates going up, and you see all these YouTube videos, and that housing's going to crash.
No, people leave comments on my videos saying the market's going to crash, and I'm like, oh boy, then you're in for a real treat.
Yeah, but they get a lot of clicks, and people believe the worst, and it's just so I think it's a little better to kind of like go with a fact-based approach rather than a hyperbolic approach. Say, hey, these are the facts, and the facts are going to change maybe, but right now these are the facts. And the housing market, when people say the housing market's tight, this is what they're talking about, right? And we're going to get to some more stats that you came out with today that are awesome. And I've got just a couple more things to get through, and we'll get to those here in just a second. Last week I was kind of stubborn with I think interest rates are coming down, and part of that.
You were stubborn. I just have to emphasize that you were very stubborn. Did you see this look of skepticism on my face?
Yes, I did. It was the look that, Dan, I've heard this from you before. Several times, in fact.
I posted that part of the video, too.
I gotta admit, you're hovering right around the Mendoza line, which in baseball is you're batting 200. That's not good to be around the Mendoza line. So, anyways, but I have been stubborn, and there's a reason for it. It's because some of the more fundamental targets, fundamental components, I should say, of inflation, the wind is going to be at our back for the next 6 to 9 months. And this is the primary component that I'm talking about, and that's shelter costs. Okay, so reason I mentioned that is that shelter costs represent 43% of core CPI. It's a little less it's a little bit shelter 43% core CPI. So the important part here is that shelter costs versus real-time costs, the way it's reported in CPI versus what's really going on in the marketplace, it's reported at roughly a 12-month moving lag in CPI. Okay, I'm oversimplifying it, but you can pretty much see the peak in real-time rents from about a year ago, and then it's come down precipitously. I mean, it peaked at almost 15% year over year, and now it's down to about 3.45% on a year over year basis. And you can see now, just in the May reading, I believe was the peak of shelter costs, that it's just now rolling over within the CPI component. So that's going to give the inflation numbers that you see a real boost. In other words, we're going to continue to see lower inflation. There's just no question about it, barring, like all the oil being taken off the international markets or something like, something crazy.
Some international catastrophe, right?
International catastrophe, something like that.
Economic catastrophe, yeah.
Yes,
which could happen. I mean, we could have another pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, another
say
pandemic.
that out loud.
Yes. But barring those things, barring some weird stuff happening, I think for the next 6 to 9 months, you're going to see a gentle trend towards lower rates. And so, down 3 steps, up 2 steps, something along those lines. And I do think you're going to see rates eventually settle. Put a gun to my head. I try not to forecast those things, because there's an old saying, those that try to forecast end up eating glass. So anyways, with the crystal ball, but I do think you're going to see rates set, on the 10-year note going below 3%. If we see rates below 3% on the 10-year, we're probably going to see mortgage rates on the 30-year fixed somewhere at or just a smidge below 5%. So that's sort of lame.
Well, that would create a run on the real estate market. Just saying. So
yeah. And the two.
Then I'll go back to being a professional offer writer for a living, for which there's no pay, no compensation.
No compensation. Yes. Well, I'll be
Zero compensation for writing offers when you're competing with 30, 40 other agents who are doing the same thing.
Well, hopefully it doesn't get that bad, but I
don't know yet.
It might. Anyway, we'll see what happens. The other thing going in your favor is going to be maybe it doesn't heat up as much as we think, because we're at a point where you're probably going to begin to see higher unemployment. So the two compensating factors for real estate, I would say, is going to be if unemployment rates start to rise pretty strongly, and I wouldn't be shocked if that happens at this point in the economic cycle, that's going to put a damper on demand for housing. And then the second thing that would put a damper on demand would be what we saw last year, basically, if the stock market took another beating, and especially tech companies. So if around here, if Microsoft goes down, if Amazon goes down precipitously, 25-30%, could happen, you never know, then you're gonna see a dampening of demand. So those are the two sides of the coin that I kind of see, and we'll see what happens, how it plays out. Did have an interesting clip for you from this morning. So I keep an eye on Barry Habib. He has his MBS highway program that comes out every morning, and he made some really good points. So this is about 2 minutes, and we'll just throw this up there. And here we go.
1.4 million units in total, a little bit more than that. And then when you look forward, as far as permits go and starts go, they're also in that 1.4 million range. So we just kept, it's about 1.4. It's a little bit over 1.4. But again, this is volatile. Now, remember that because of aging, about 100,000 homes each year need to be replaced. So when you say, we're going to get about 1.4 million, maybe a little over that, that nets to about 1.3 million. So, that's the supply side. What's the demand side? That's household formations. Household formations, the latest data we get, shows that we're doing household formations at an annualized pace of about 1.5 million a year. So you do the math. You get 1.4 million supply. 1.3 million net supply, 1.5 million demand. You don't have to scratch your head and figure out why the housing market's strong and why home values are going up, although a lot of people have a difficult time with that. They don't understand. Right now, you're seeing about 10 offers come in for every 3 homes. So even if an event were to occur that would decrease demand rather significantly by 20, by 30%, you still have, even in a reduced pool of buyers, more buyers than you have sellers. When that happens, prices go up. And that's exactly what you're seeing. It's a pretty simple explanation for what's going on, but it explains it. In a couple of weeks, we'll get more recent data, and we'll bring that to you when we get the new numbers for household formations. But I do anticipate that we're still going, I think it comes out August 2nd, but we're still going to be coming up with a number that's going to be greater than the net supply coming to the market. I think, Dan, to underscore this, builders are also seeing that in positive.
A little bit of lag on the video there, but first time out. So, but it is interesting what they have to say. I mean, I guess my point is that we're hitting this from a bunch of different angles, and that there's a lot of supporting evidence that we're going to maintain a very tight housing market moving forward. And especially here in King, Snohomish, Pierce County, we're going to add. Well, let's add it right now. We can see the stats that you came out with this morning that were just quite stunning, and so I kind of wanted to turn that over to you, because we're talking about, 20-year lows in listing, things like that. I mean, just long-term lows in the number of houses being listed right now. Anyway, I'll turn it over to you, because I thought this was just really compelling for King, Snohomish, and Pierce County.
Yeah. So that graph shows essentially that the new listings coming on the market for the month of June are at essentially all-time lows. At least from when the data has been tracked through Showing Time / InfoSparks, the company that is providing those statistics in this case. Yeah. And so that June data is the lowest since 2006.
Wow.
2006. That's new listings coming on the market for the month of June. So that's not year long. That's just for the month of June. And June's a heavy listing time. It's typically one of the larger volume months for new listings to come on the market. So that was significant. Kind of blew my mind a little bit when I found that. So I sent that over to Dan this morning, thinking that was pretty interesting. So,
caught my eye. I thought it was pretty interesting.
I know. Well, anytime you're breaking a record somewhere, it's interesting. You can scratch your head and you go, okay, why? And in this case, we know why. It's a function of sellers not selling or moving locally because they've got their really pretty 3 or 4% interest rates, and so that really discourages a seller from moving, even though they could take out their equity and apply that towards a new purchase. But homes have gone up so significantly in King, Snohomish, and Pierce counties that it makes it almost not viable. You almost would have to have owned your home since, for 20 years to get an amount of cash that you could turn around and parlay into the big enough down payment where your payment would seem manageable for somebody who purchased that long ago and, has had the various interest rates, but eventually got a 3 or 4% or, rolled in, refinanced. So anyway, so I think we should go straight from there into King County.
Okay.
So King County, here we go. 1.2 months supply of inventory. So that's up. It was 0.9. And so last year, when we started seeing month supply of inventory up 1.3, 1.4, we started to see the market settle down a little bit, soften, if you may. So slow. And so I'm anticipating that is happening right now. However, 55% of sellers still believe they're going to get under contract within the first 7 days on the market, and they are setting offer review dates. So that number has continued to increase all spring. I think they're a little overzealous now, but I would still recommend a seller do set an offer review date if you appear to be sort of the shiny object. So if you're well prepared for market, you're staged, you've got great a media package that's like phenomenal. And you've had a pre-inspection, big deal. And your landscaping looks stellar. So if you've done all the things, and I still would recommend you set an offer review date just in case you can get those multiple offers. So 46% of sellers went under contract within the first 7 days on the market. Now that's still a good number. That's still a big number. But in late April, it was 63%. So that's come back.
Back that up just a second. 46% of sellers.
46% of sellers went under contract within the first 7 days, but that number was 63%.
Okay.
So that's a big difference. That's, and that's been declining pretty much week over week. So since the end of April, it's been coming back down. So it's a number that I really like to watch because I can relate that to a seller. So when I'm going to a listing appointment, I can talk about how many homes in your area are selling within the first 7 days on the market, and that's meaningful. That's your odds of selling, and these are the ones that sold. You could take a look at the photos. You can see the hot properties, why they sold, how they were priced, and so that's a key statistic that I personally find very, very useful. It's also useful to buyers because it sets expectations as to how soon they should jump on a house when it comes on the market, and what their expectation is of actually getting it. So their expectation of potentially coming up against competing buyers, I guess is my point there. So I like to use it for both buyers and sellers, that statistic, that how many sellers get under contract within the first 7 days on the market. It's my favorite stat when it's a seller's competitive. It's a seller's market. So it's my favorite stat. The next one I like is the how many get under contract within 14 days on the market. So how many sellers get under contract within the first 14 days of listing their home. And that number is 54%. So that number has come down from 68% in late April. So now within 14 days on the market, there's only about half the sellers that are getting sold. Are getting under contract. So that's quite a softening.
And how much was that a couple months ago that you mentioned?
A couple months ago it was almost 70%. It was 68%.
Wow.
And so that was phenomenal. That was an incredible market. There was multiple offers all over the place. Only the people that really missed the mark, stayed on the market. But everybody else, almost 70% were off the market within 2 weeks. If you were still on the market after 2 weeks, you were in trouble. And that still holds true today. But you can see only 46% went under contract within 7 days in King County, but only 8% more went under contract that next week. Better get that pricing right. Because you don't want to bet that you're one of the few that get under contract the second week. So we're seeing already days on market lengthening. I've been watching it on actives and pending listings. Solds, I believe, have turned the corner too, because sold data runs 30 days behind. So I believe that's starting to creep up as well. But it's very obvious in the number of days active listings are on the market and the number of days pending listings are on the market. So those numbers are all increasing. So the other thing that I
hope you don't mind me taking a left turn. I've got a question for you.
No, go ahead.
When you're dealing with the customer, like let's say a listing, it's obviously clear that you need to strike immediately, right? First 7 days are critical. First 14 days critical also, but first 7 days really, really critical. So when you start the clock going, let's say you meet with maybe you can walk me through it a little bit, but you meet with the client that wants to sell their house. You basically you get contracted to sell their house for them, correct? Mm-hmm. And then from that point forward, how long does it take to list the house? Like all the stuff that you need to do, because we talked last week about the important, maybe it was 2 weeks ago, but I think it was last week, about the importance of staging your house, right? And then pricing it correctly. It just seems like in a very short period of time, you've got a tremendous amount of work to do right off the get-go to get this thing on the market as quickly as possible. So I'm sorry if these are just obvious questions, but
no, you're fine. No, actually, I mean, it does vary with per client, because it's going to depend on what kind of work they need done to the house. Sometimes we need to schedule painters. It's a good idea to freshen the paint on the interior or exterior if either one are not in sellable condition, right? So if the exterior is faded and some of it's peeling, then you're probably going to want to get an exterior paint on your home. And then if, on the inside, if the paint looks dirty or it's too colorful, guys, you can't have a colorful house. When you go on the market, it's actually kills the sale. I mean, it can be the most beautiful home, ever. And when you walk in person, doesn't relate in photos. It just doesn't. There was a gorgeous home. I think it was listed for about 1.2 last year, Mill Creek Country Club. I mean, fabulous, listed by a friend of mine. And she ended up with one offer. And this was at a time when you were getting, 10 to 15 offers pretty routinely, at least 3 or 4. And she was in a good, I don't want to say a good school district, but a sought after school district. So that was literally paint color. She did end up getting an offer. By the skin of her teeth. What is that saying? I don't know what that saying is. By the skin of your
chinny chin chin, something like that.
By the skin of her chinny chin chin. That's what it is. Anyway, so she did get it sold, but she wasn't able to create the multiple offer situation. And it's not just about multiple offers. It's about getting your house sold within a reasonable length of time. So if you've got paint, we have to schedule paint, and listen, good agents are good at that. So I have my people that will usually fit me in, because as a realtor, we use certain service providers fairly frequently. And so they will try to accommodate us, understanding that our job is to make things happen quickly. So if you need paint, that takes scheduling. If you need new carpet or you need new flooring installed, that takes some, advanced scheduling. If you need landscaping maintenance, that's usually fairly quick to schedule. And then photography, media, and staging are the last things you would be doing. And don't forget the inspection. So you should have a pre-inspection, even if we're not in a multiple offer market. So not in a competitive market for sellers, but you should still have a pre-inspection. So it's really useful for buyers to be able to see what the items are that are wrong with your house before they make an offer. And that way they can come in without an inspection contingency, which can be worth a lot of money, to be frank, because buyers with an inspection contingency, if sellers accept an offer with an inspection contingency, that buyer can come back and renegotiate that price. It doesn't have to be based on the inspection. So sellers don't like that. And they can also get out of the contract and get their earnest money back. Buyers can. So have a pre-inspection so you don't, cause yourself undue stress. I have clients who worry about getting a pre-inspection, but I gotta tell you, it has benefited every single one of my clients. I think I've only had one buyer one time have their own inspection. And that way my sellers were able to go in, hire their own contractors, or fix the problems themselves where they could. And it saved them probably a lot of money, or saved them from having a buyer come back at them with a $10,000 or $20,000 seller credit. So anyway, those are the things that go into preparing a house or a listing for the market. So, and as a good agent, a good broker in Washington State, I will schedule those contractors or those service providers for my sellers if they want me to, for sure. And I'll even show up at the house and let them in, or stay there with them, whatever the seller would like, So anyway, that's kind of the process for listing a home.
Okay. I was curious. Sorry about that.
So it can take, and listen, honestly, I can get a house on the market probably in about 2 weeks. If it's super clean, ready to go. But if it's even 1 week, if they tell me by Wednesday, and I can get my media team out there on Monday and my stager out there over the weekend, then we can go on Thursday. Yes.
You ever tell them, all right, folks, I want these window sills to shine, baby.
Oh, yeah, there's the window washer, too. I forgot about that. And the cleaning ladies, the cleaning people. Don't forget to have the house cleaned, if you don't want to do it yourself. Yeah. Right. So, and the windows, of course. So there's a whole list of service providers that I have, nice list that I can provide people, or I just, get on the phone and call them myself.
Just bring into action, basically.
That's right. All right. Since I'm going to be filming or cutting this up into videos, I'm going to go ahead and grab a jacket.
Okay.
Do a little bit of a switcheroo. Oh, you know what? Actually, I have something else to add to King County. So hold on, folks, before I put on my jacket. Okay. So I pulled a couple extra stats today. So the total number of homes that are available for sale, and this is for June 2023, that number went down 51% since June 2022. That's the total number of available homes for sale. not the number of new listings. That's a different number that Dan and I were talking about earlier. This is the total number of homes for sale. And these are resales only. I don't include new construction in my stats. It throws everything off.
Right.
So this is for resales.
Down pat.
Detached single family, not attached townhomes, and no condos or manufactured. So that's really what my data is comprised of. So the other thing I'd like to mention also is the average sales price in the last 5 years. I bet you don't know how much that's gone up, Dan, do you?
In the last how many years?
5. Did
5 years. How much has it gone up in 5 years?
How much has King County gone up in 5 years? June 2018 to June 2023.
I'm going to say it's gone up 50%.
That's a good guess. It's actually 43%. So home prices, the average home price in King County has gone up 43%. So not bad.
Not bad. So, I was gonna go with 45%, which would have been closer, but then I said, no, I'm going for the full.
No, you wanted to go for the gusto. So the reason why that's important is because so for people to qualify to buy homes today, 5 years later, not only are they dealing with housing prices that are 43% higher than they were back in 2018, but they also have to deal with the interest rates being much higher. So back in 2018, I don't know what interest rates were, but they were probably 4 to 5%, somewhere in there. And now they're essentially 7.25, give or take whatever day of the week you pick, and the various other factors like credit score and all that, what kind of loan you're getting. So it just goes to the affordability of homes for buyers these days. It's just, not only are you contending with the increase in price, the appreciation of 43%, but you also have to qualify for the higher interest rate. So it's kind of a double whammy, for buyers.
Yeah, it's a much tougher environment right now.
It's tough out there for buyers.
It is.
All right, now we're going to see if I can sweat. Because folks, I'm a softie out here in Washington State, and it's 80. It's 80 out here.
It's 80.
But I don't think, I don't think people want to see me in 4 videos in a row in the same outfit. So I'm trying something new.
Midlife stream wardrobe change.
Give me some love over here if you agree, because I'm pretty sure that's what's happening. Anyway, so all right.
Well, I just have something for your TikTok video, TikTok watchers. I want to see a lot of what do they press? What button do they press when they like something? Was it the heart button? I want to see lots of heart button pressing going on right now from you. TikTok.
Yes, the heart button pressing. That's what Dan said. Press the heart button.
Press the heart button.
So I know you're watching, guys.
Yes. Keep us awake.
Okay. Let's move on to Snohomish County.
Okay.
So Snohomish County MSI is actually at 0.9 months. That's exactly where it's been. Mm-hmm. So no change there at all. Snohomish County actually has the strongest market of the 3 counties, and it has had for quite some time.
Just to refresh my memory, MSI stands for months supply of inventory. Yeah, months
supply of inventory.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's basically, it is. So month supply of inventory is the number of active listings, the total number of active listings, divided by the number of pending listings. So when that number goes over 1 month, then now you have more active listings than have gone pending. So, and so the bigger the MSI is, the more soft, the slower the market is getting. So when you see MSI under 1 month, then you've got a really competitive seller's market, or you've got a real seller's market. I keep saying competitive seller's market. I think that becomes a competitive buyer's market. But for sellers, it becomes a stronger market as MSI goes down. So month supply of inventory goes down. And that would be when the number of pendings actually exceed the number of active listings. So that's how MSI is calculated. And it's important because it reflects the balance, right? And so like a balanced market would be and this is what the experts say. I don't know that I buy this, but they say 3 to 6 months is a balanced market. MSI, 3 to 6 months supply of inventory. So in that kind of a market, you're going to have, the average listing sitting on the market for 60, 90 days before they get an offer. And so that's a market that I actually haven't seen, and I don't remember when. That's been a long time ago,
Yes.
So
maybe 2012, 13 might have been the last time.
I mean, it's been a while. It's been a minute. Because the last 5 years have been kind of, for lack of a better term, batshit crazy.
That will go into my shorts right there.
So, Kat's interpretation of the market in the last 5 years. So 0.9% month supply of inventory for Snohomish County. 52% of sellers set offer review dates. So not a lot different than King County, but Snohomish County has a lot more reason to be optimistic, or a little bit more reason to be optimistic. 47% of sellers went under contract within the first 7 days on the market. That was 64% in April. So we're seeing the same thing, a softening. And that's actually, what did I say? So 47% of sellers went under contract within 7 days. Yeah. And 64%, that number was 64% in April. So that's a big drop.
That's down 17%, right?
Yeah. That's why I looked at my notes twice. I was like, oh yeah, I remember it being big, but that's a ginormous drop in just a couple months. Yeah. So 60% of sellers went under contract within 14 days on the market. And that number was 68% in April. So it's softened a little bit on the 2 weeks. The second week in Snohomish County seems to be still a fairly decent week for getting under contract. But we are seeing both of those numbers are declining. No question. Oh. So, things are softening in the market overall in Western Washington would be probably my guess. So another thing, the total number of homes for sale in Snohomish County, now this is a shocking number, 59% less in June of this year than June of last year. 59% less available homes for sale this year as compared to June of last year. Wow, that's less than half.
Wow.
So that's why we still have such a competitive market for buyers.
Right.
And the average sales price in Snohomish County, I always enjoy this because it beats King County, and I don't know why Snohomish County and King County should be in competition. It feels like a competition. Maybe because I live in Snohomish and I work in King. Anyway, so bottom line is average sales price in Snohomish County is up 58%. That's the kicker. So in the last 5 years.
Wow. So
June 2018 to June 2023, Snohomish County is up 58%.
King up 43. Snohomish
is killing it at 58%.
Wow. Yeah. How's Lakewood doing down at Pierce? Sorry.
We're gonna get to Pierce. Hold on to your shorts. YouTube or otherwise.
Yes.
Anyway, so that's the Snohomish County market. It's so it's a little stronger than King as far as that goes right now, and Pierce, but it's also softening. There's that word again. And continuing to soften. Yes. So, all right, outfit change. Thanks for
the denim looks good.
Like the denim? Yeah.
The denim looks
Maybe we should have a vote as to what everybody likes better. All right, let me try the cream. I'm gonna go with
let's go cream.
The cream leather jacket. I got it monogrammed with the Windermere logo.
Oh my goodness.
See, I'll show you the monogram. Looks like I got my hair over it. Isn't that cute?
Hang on.
Here we go.
Hang on. I'm still looking. Oh, now I can see it better.
See it?
I had to put on my glasses. Yes, there we go. That looks good.
That looks good, right? I like
That
it.
is a sharp looking jacket. No, seriously, that is a sharp looking jacket.
I like it. So far, I'm not overheating too badly. Fortunately, it's later in the afternoon, so I'm in the shade at least. All right, what are we doing next? Let's see here. Let's do, I got a bug on my face. Oh my God.
What are we doing next?
We got a bug. I had a bug. I had to get the bug off of me. Can't function with bugs crawling on me. All right, let me get my notes here. Okay, so we're doing Pierce County next.
Okay. Oh, we've gotten to Lakewood.
Yeah, here we go.
This is exciting. I've been waiting for it all live stream, and here we are.
Okay, here we go.
Go ahead.
Pierce County, 1.1 months supply of inventory, and that has stayed the same.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's holding its own. 26% of sellers set offer review dates, so it's a softer market there. 39% of sellers got under contract within the first 7 days. So that's really close to King County, really close. But their sellers are a little more realistic with only 26%. It's only 26% setting offer review dates.
Okay. Do me a quick favor if you could. Come in closer to the camera. For some reason, ever since you backed out, it got blurry.
Oh. Whoops, where's the camera? There it is. Is that better?
Yeah, I think it's better. Back up just a little bit. Let's see. Well, let's go with what we got.
Are we going with what we got, Dan?
We're going to go with what we got.
Okay. All right. So 39% of sellers got under contract within 7 days or less. 55% got under contract within 14 days or less. The total number, so not terrible numbers.
No.
Again, trending very similar to King County, really.
Yeah.
Just a tad softer market. The total number of homes for sale in Pierce County is actually down 40%. So not down as much as Snohomish County, but still down significantly. So that's the total number of homes that are available for sale in June of this year versus June last year, 2022. So, and then the Pierce County average sales price is up 52% in the last 5 years, June 2018 versus, June 2023. So average sales price up 52%. So that's a pretty good number.
That's better than King.
It is better than King. Yeah.
King was what, 43, right?
Yep.
This is 52.
Yep. And Snohomish beat King too. Not that we're in a competition with King County. Just because I live in Snohomish County doesn't mean I have a thing against King County.
No, but it's fun to root for the underdog. That's why I always root for Lakewood.
Are we rooting for King County?
No. Pierce and Snohomish are the two underdogs.
Oh, right. That's what you meant. Yeah. Snohomish and Pierce counties. Yeah. No, I didn't say that.
Anyway, for the folks that are not in this area, right? For those watching in India, for example.
Yeah.
But there is a big difference between like Pierce and Snohomish and King. I mean, they all have their own little personalities. They do. And it is interesting to see all these little subplots going on between the different geographic areas of our area. Anyway, I'm just babbling. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, King County has Seattle, the city of Seattle and Bellevue in it. So, large metropolitan areas. Snohomish County, you've got Everett, and then you've got, cities, smaller towns around the area in Snohomish County. So Snohomish, Marysville, Arlington, Lake Stevens. So smaller municipalities as opposed to, big cities. So we always think of Snohomish County as being much more rural overall.
Right.
And Pierce County also has some fairly good metropolitan centers in it.
Pierce is kind of a blend of those two in a way, aren't they?
It is. Yep. So, okay, I'm up for another, let's see. I don't know if this jacket's going to win or not, but we got to move on to the next jacket.
Okay. Let's move on. Our third jacket change for the day.
Actually, we'll switch it up for a minute. We're actually going to do a scarf.
Oh,
yeah. Here we go. I like the scarf.
there we go.
Yeah, this is pretty. Okay, let me get back in view of the camera here. This is cooler, guys. I picked the scarf.
See, when we're doing these live streams like September, October, I think we'll break out the jackets a little bit more.
Yeah,
A
totally.
little cooler. Now this is more scarf weather, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I didn't want to just change scarves. That seems silly to me. But I can use
Scarf
one.
is going to look sharp on those TikTok cut-ups. They're going to look good.
All right, so let's see. What else are we wanting to chat about today? Let's see here. Let me grab my other notes. So I do want to go over offer review dates in more detail. Now that we've brought them up.
I was just going to ask you about offer review dates.
Yeah.
That up. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, because I don't know that when I'm reporting on things like that, I'm not sure that everybody understands exactly what an offer review date is and why we have them. So offer review dates come into existence when the market is really hot and sellers might anticipate more than one offer. So there's so many buyers out there vying for the same houses that you're going to get offers within the first day or two. And so to prevent a seller from having to accept an offer within the first day, at full price, we've decided to set up a system where the seller can set an offer review date. So statistically, it works out better for the seller if you set the offer review, you list the property on Thursday and you review offers on Tuesday. There's a statistical advantage for sellers using those particular days of the week to list and to review offers. So they set an offer review date of the following Tuesday from when they go on the market. And at that point, they set a time when they're going to review offers. And then the listing agent will collect the offers as they come in, advising the buyer's agents that the offer review date is the following Tuesday. And that's also in the listing. So buyer's agents know that up front. So, but you would want to set a listing date if you think you're priced really well for the market, meaning that you're going to be very competitive with other homes, similar homes. So then you would want to set an offer review date. And especially if you're prepared for the market well, right? Mm-hmm. Landscaping, windows, new carpets, new paint, if necessary, staging, all the things that you do to prepare your home for market. If you've done most of those things and you've done them well, and your agent and you have sat down and you're looking at the pricing and you're like, okay, we don't want to overshoot this. So, let's make sure we're competitive with the other listings that come on the market that week. Not the solds from 30 days ago. Don't apply in a market that's fluctuating. You have to look at who's going on the market that week and who sold the week before, who went pending the week before within their first 7-day window. And you can talk to those agents. I talk to those agents when I'm listing a property. I'll call the agents that got under contract the previous week, really that are close in proximity to my listing coming up. And I'll ask them, what they got for the property, how many offers they received. Did the buyer waive contingencies? Did they have cash? How high did the highest buyer escalate? That's an important question. And do they release money to the seller? Did they do a non-refundable earnest money? That's a good question to ask the other agents in a seller's market, a stronger seller's market. So anyway, so then you go about the listing agent at that point after they've collected the offers. They'll present them to the seller. Usually these days,
boy, that takes a lot of confidence to release the release the earnest money to the seller. Just
again, the batshit crazy thing. Yeah, no, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of advising my buyers to release earnest money directly to the seller. I'm not a fan. I don't like it. I don't think you should waive inspections unless the seller's provided an inspection. You know, I don't want you waiving financing. It's not a good practice.
Yeah,
that's a good way to get your buyer to lose their earnest money. No. There are ways of getting an offer accepted without resorting to those types of tactics. So one of the things you can do, and I'm just going to throw something out there, Dan.
I was just going to ask you, what can you do?
You can't even I'm wound up. I'm just going to keep talking. So one of the things, I'll just go from topic to topic. One of the things you can do as a buyer, if you have a good broker on your side, is you have the lender that the buyer is working with, have them get pre-underwritten. And I mean fully underwritten. So not a pre-approval letter. That's what everybody else has got. You want them actually all the way through underwriting, so that it's almost the same as cash. So this is how I've gotten my buyers into houses when we're competing, right? You don't have to get fully underwritten if there's no competition. But if we're anticipating we might have competition, the one way you can compete, and you can almost compete with cash, but you can certainly beat out all the other financed buyers. So if you're fully underwritten, because I can sell that to a listing agent all day long, you know, because it's almost the same as cash. You're already through the whole underwriting process. The only thing that could go wrong is you can't get homeowners insurance, or it can't be, you know, title can't be approved or whatever. What do they call
once
it?
you get all that underwritten, all you have left is usually title, escrow, and
title, escrow, and your homeowners insurance. There isn't anything else because you're already through the financing. They're just waiting for the underwriters at that point are just waiting for a property address. So that's what's it. I mean, that is a good way to get an offer accepted in a competitive market. If you don't want to lose your earnest money or give your earnest money to the seller,
right
up front.
Right. Well, that, you know, in that way you can close in 7 to 14 days. And you're not stressing yourself out in trying to close in 7 to 14. I mean, because everything's already pretty much done for you. That's a great strategy.
It is, and I've used that many times actually. I think that's the best way to go. There are other things you can do as well. You can also if your seller doesn't have an inspection, you can also get your own inspection before you make an offer. So let's say there's an offer review date of Tuesday. You saw the house on Friday. You could try to get an inspector out there over the weekend or the following Monday. And as a good real estate broker in the state of Washington, I've got, you know, a handful of inspectors that I've worked with in the past that if they have an opening, they'll jump through hoops to make sure that my buyers get taken care of. So, but that's another thing you can do as a strategy to try to win if the seller doesn't provide a home inspection, because other buyers may not have that opportunity or may not want to spend the money on an inspection if there's a chance they won't get the house. So it does require you to spend a few $100s, probably if you're doing just a quick walkthrough inspection, which would take about an hour and a half, where they're not providing you with a written report, just photos and a verbal what's going on with the house. That can run you $250 to $375 most of the time in Western Washington. So not a break the bank amount, and definitely worthwhile doing. But then when you make your offer, you can waive the inspection if everything's okay. So that gives you a leg up over other buyers who may have an inspection contingency in their offer. So you can get fully underwritten. Ways you can win. This is ways you can win, folks. How do you win an inspection if you don't want to give the seller a non-refundable deposit?
In a tight market. Yes.
In a seller's market. Well, one, you can what was I gonna say? You can if the seller doesn't have an inspection already, you can get your own inspection, and that way you can waive the inspection when you make your offer. Two, what's my
have the loan pre-underwritten.
Yes, have the loan get a fully underwritten, your loan fully underwritten. So one, get your own inspection if there's not one already. And then two, get your lending fully underwritten. And that can help you a lot with getting an offer accepted. It's not going to work in a market where there's 10, 20 offers on a home. That isn't going to work. But that can work if there's 1, 2, 3, 4 other buyers. You can actually still get into a house. Like I said, I've helped a number of people buy with that strategy. So I think that's good.
As total coincidence, but yes, we actually have some lenders that do completely pre-underwrite the files too.
Not all lenders will do it, by the way.
No, they don't.
Not all lenders will pre-underwrite your client because they don't want to spend the time when they don't know 100% for sure they're actually going to get a house. Whereas when I'm working with my clients, I'm 100% sure. If they tell me they're buying a house, usually I can tell that they're serious. People are usually serious once they've made an application with a lender. So if they can't get fully underwritten with their lender, then I'll hook them up with a lender that will do it or give them choices of a few that can fully underwrite them. So anyway, good lenders won't mind doing that.
That's right.
For one thing, once you get the address of the property and made your offer and you get it accepted, the lender can close on the loan super fast because they've already done the legwork.
That's right. Now I can tell you from experience here that it also, the lender, sometimes you got to shop for lenders because some of the lenders occasionally, like in November, December, January, they'll be like, oh yeah, we'll pre-underwrite your file all day long. And then March comes along and they'll be like, well, we're not going to pre-underwrite it, but we'll give you a full pre-approval. And you say, well, thanks a lot.
That's not the same thing. Full pre-approvals are not being fully underwritten. The key words are fully underwritten. That's what you need to ask for from your lender if you want to be able to submit a stronger offer. So if you think you're going to compete, that's a good strategy. It's a very good strategy because I don't like risking my buyers' earnest money, releasing earnest money as a non-refundable deposit to sellers. It's not my favorite way of doing business. I don't recommend it ever, actually. I don't recommend it. I don't mind being the listing agent and the buyer's agent allows their client to give my seller some non-refundable earnest money. I'm perfectly happy with that. But I'm not going to be that agent that encourages my client to do that. I don't think that's a good business practice.
Right. Well, and the thing is too, you can, when you're following that path, you can credibly provide a 2-week closing, to make it more attractive.
Yeah, if the seller wants a quicker close. Yep, for sure.
If that's an issue, that's right.
Yep,
so
that's
sometimes
right.
It's not. Sometimes 30 days is fine. But anyways,
yeah.
Go ahead. Let's.
So all right. Hey, another quick change.
Moving on.
Okay, let's see if you guys like this one. Oh my goodness, it's another jacket. So, oh boy, I tell you what. I'm doing the quick changes here. Get this guy on. All right.
Is that suede?
No, it's actually faux leather.
Oh, faux leather. There we go. That looks good.
But I like the color. I got sunflowers right next to me here, and it matches my sunflowers.
Yes. It's a good color for Snohomish County. It really is.
Yeah, don't you think? Yeah, in the middle of the summer,
In the summer, yeah.
If it were a cool evening, you might see me sporting this jacket. If it was a cool evening. And I got to tell you, I had my heater on in my house in July this year. So today is July 19th. So I believe that was yesterday in the morning. I had my heat on for like 3 hours.
It was kind of cool yesterday morning.
It was cold.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
It's a funny thing you mentioned that. I went to I went to my closet. And I said, it's a little chilly this morning.
I grabbed a sweatshirt.
Yeah, I had to grab like this little jogging coat or jacket or whatever. Anyway, it was a little cool up here. So
I got my background all faded out again, huh?
For our viewers in the United Kingdom, and it does get a little cool in the morning up here in Washington. So anyway, that's about.
I understand that England has very similar gardening temperatures as we do here. Yes. So that's why I plant lady's mantle, because that's from England, actually, I believe. And it's a beautiful plant with green sprays of flowers that you use it in bouquets. So it's gorgeous. Anyway, I have tons of them because it self-sows, which I love because I love that plant. It less weeds, Anyway, so if you ever walk around my yard here, lots of ladies' mantle everywhere. Anyway, okay, so moving on. So I had all my stories start with I have a client. Okay, I'll start that way. I have a client, Ron. Yeah. He's looking for new construction in downtown Woodinville. Now, Woodinville's undergone tremendous new building, redesign. Almost all of downtown Woodinville has been redesigned recently, and a lot of the developments are complete, but there's a lot more developments that are coming online. So, the Garden District, they're working in the Garden District. They're working in the I believe it's called Wooden Village. East Rail Flats is right on Northeast 175th. They took out, I don't know how many buildings they took out to create that, but that's going to be a ton of apartments. And that at East Rail Flats, there's going to be a huge apartment community there. They're going to have their own private tasting room.
Wow.
And a rooftop deck. Like they're going high end.
Oh, my goodness. So for those of you watching from out of the area, Woodinville has some of the greatest wineries. Oh, they're delicious.
Oh my gosh. Yes, we are becoming probably one of the go-to places for wine in Washington State. I can't remember exactly how many. I know it's well over 100 wineries, lots of boutique wineries, tons of wine tasting. I mean, so the development I'm just getting ready to talk about is actually in the wine district there at where the old schoolhouse is. So it's about 1.5 miles. I believe is that south of Woodinville? What direction? That's south of Woodinville. So the old schoolhouse, it's called the Woodinville Wine District. And there's a ton of little wineries, small wineries, boutique wineries down there that you can grab a glass of wine, a little bit of food. So anyway, very cool, quaint, really cool area that's being developed. So the development that I'm going to be talking about today, because my client is looking for a new townhome for him and his wife to move into as they're looking to downsize over the next couple of years. So he has some time to kind of watch and see what's coming along online. So what I did was, I'm a new member with the Woodinville Chamber of Commerce. My first luncheon there, they had the developers come in and describe and show us PowerPoint slides of what they're doing in downtown Woodinville, what's coming up. And so part of the information I got to share with you today is from that luncheon. But I also reached out to the city of Woodinville to find out if there were any other townhome developments that had townhomes in them, coming up within the next few years. So this is what I found. So Harvest is a new community that's just being started. It's down in the Woodinville Wine District, very close to the Purple Cafe. So they're going to have, let's see here. Yeah, they've got a hotel going in called the SOM, SOMM, and they're going to have a spa in there. I can't remember how many rooms they said they had. 100 to 200, I think. But anyway, it's supposed to be a really cool state-of-the-art hotel, 4-star with fine dining and everything. There's also going to be some apartments, so several hundred apartments being built. There's also going to be condos. Those are coming online about 2027. So those are the last phase to be built. And in the meantime, over the next couple of years, there's going to be, it's called River Run, development of 31 townhomes that's located right along the Snohomish River Trail. So those start at 1.85 and they go up to 3.2 million.
Is that for a townhouse?
Yes, they're actually going to be duplex style. Those are 3 stacks and 4 stacks. No kidding. The 3 stacks have rooftop decks, which is cool. And they're also right along the trail. Some of those units have elevators, which is a cool feature, right? So for people
for 1.4 million, you would expect an elevator. But go ahead.
No, not 1.4. No, you didn't hear me. 1.85 is the low number.
Oh, I'm sorry, 1.85.
I got sticker shock from that one.
There was 1.85 up to how much? 3 point what?
3.2. I was talking to Winnie at their sales office. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know. I think that might be out of my client's budget. I'm not sure he's thinking 2 million. You know?
Then those are townhouses, right?
Lot. They're townhomes, and they have HOAs, $450 a month, and you cannot Airbnb it for less than 30 days. So no short-term rentals. It has to be 30 days or longer in the whole development. So in the condos, in the other townhomes, the whole development, you can't do a short-term rental. So they've got an area in the center of everything that's called the Yard. It's a triangular kind of community center with kind of park-like setting, and then there's also going to be some restaurants. They're 70% leased already. So even though it hasn't been started being built yet, they're 70% leased. So Winnie is going to send me over the list of restaurants and small businesses that have already signed leases to go in there. So that's going to be interesting. I'll share that when I get that. But wow. So when I was talking to Winnie the other day, she also said, so not only is, every townhome has its own parking, the garage, their own personal garages and things, but there's going to be 1,000 extra paid parking spots. So that was negotiated by the city of Woodinville with the Harvest developer to make sure that happened. So they're going to get 1,000 extra parking spots, which is good.
I hate to interrupt. I used to live in Kingsgate, right? And we used to live right up by the junior high school there, senior elementary. And you come down the hill, and all I remember, I hate to put it this way, but I remember Woodinville is a nice, sleepy, wonderful little community, and it is growing up. That's all I can say. It's really growing up. This is really amazing.
Growing up and up and up, and we're talking high rises, 4 or 5 stories. So lots and lots of apartments. Yep. By the way, Molbach's is never going to close, even though I think they own that whole block. I'm not sure, but anyway, they're gonna build a new building next to the Windermere Woodinville building, right there on the state, because we're one lot away from Molbach's. So Molbach's is relocating next door to our building, which I love Molbach's. So yes, plus they have the greatest little cafe in there. It's amazing. Salmon sandwiches to die for. Oh my God. Anyway, so they're moving to the space next door between Windermere Woodinville and their current location. And they're going to build this fabulous new nursery with a bunch of townhomes behind them. I believe some other retail and restaurants. And they're going to operate out of their current location until that facility is completed with all kinds of state-of-the-art water, irrigation water recapture systems. So they're really trying to do this green. And it was lovely to talk to the gal that runs, that is, what is she? She's the, I don't know. She's the top spokesperson for Molbach's. I can't remember what position it is, but bottom line is she's the one in charge of putting out the information to the public to let them know that Molbach's is never closing. Because everybody keeps asking, when's Molbach's closing? So anyway, there's that bit of development as well. So going back to River Run, so Harvest is the community name overall going in at the down there by the Woodinville Wine District. And then River Run is the name of the 31 townhomes that are going in along the Snohomish River Trail. So there's another community of townhomes going in right behind them, more towards 203. And those are going to be called, I think it's Vineyard Creek. That's what it is. Being built by Terrene Homes. So Vineyard Creek being built by Terrene Homes. They're going to have quite a few townhomes in there. estimated completion for those is 2025. In addition to Vineyard Creek, Trammell Crow is planning to break ground on several hundred apartments in August of this year. So that's something that's going to happen right away, along with River Run. So River Run is going to be being developed over the next year and a half. They should be complete by the end of 2024. And these apartments, these several hundred unit apartments, will be completed in about that same time frame. So those are slated for that same community harvest. And then the last phase of harvest will be the condos. So Sierra Construction is set to build the condos that are going to go in there about 2027. So, but in addition to that harvest development, D.R. Horton is planning to construct 94 townhomes over off of it's 132nd Northeast, 132nd Avenue Northeast and Northeast 143rd. So over by Kamiakin Middle School. And so that's going to be 94 townhomes. And they're thinking about calling them Woodinville townhomes, but it's the city also mentioned Legacy Farms or Arabian Farms. I don't know if maybe that's just a name for what had been there.
Is that going into where that horse farm is over by Kamiakin?
It might be. I think they've already cleared the land there. When I looked on Google Maps, it showed the land had been cleared. So, but that's going to be 94 townhomes. It'd be interesting to see, what those are going to run.
Yeah.
But currently the land use permits have been issued and building permits are under review by the city. So that one's, getting close. So that's Kat's update. That's Kat's update on the economic or the actually building development in Woodinville, Washington.
Well, that's a lot of building going on. That's just a ton of building.
And that's not all of it. I didn't even touch on most of the projects. Those particular projects have townhomes attached to them. It's most builders are shying away from building condos right now because of issues in the past with getting their building licenses tied up when a citizen of a condo community or the HOA would file a lawsuit claiming defective product or defective building practices. And so we have a lot of builders that are not interested in building condos. So there's a few, very few in King County, very, very few. So condos have become there are not very many of them anymore being built. So it's more townhomes, attached homes.
Well, that makes sense. That is interesting, though. I mean, because it sort of makes a lot of sense. The stuff that we're not talking about is, things that are going up in Everett and some of the.
Well, I think we can talk generally about that, right? So what's going on up in Everett? There was some legislation that was passed. I don't have the notes in front of me, but there were a few bills that were passed by the state legislature this year that are going to impact real estate in the metropolitan areas predominantly. But the biggest legislation is going to allow additional dwelling units to be in some areas. Actually, you can, as a seller could take their, let's say, 10,000 square foot lot in Everett. And this hasn't passed yet with the city council. They've been instructed by the state legislature to make some ordinances to allow this stuff to happen. So you could take a single family residence, maybe with a 10,000 square foot lot. It's got an existing 1,800 square foot home on it, and they back an alley. And it's going to allow the seller to potentially sell off an 1,800, 2,000 square foot portion of their backyard that's adjacent to the alley, and maybe two parcels. So in Everett, they're shooting for 2 parcels per lot extra that you could split off. And then selling those as condo lots, and then the buyer can come along and have a builder build a smaller home, 1,000 square feet or less, on that lot, and it will be considered a condo. And then the HOA will just be the 3 parcels, right? And But there will not be a resale certificate associated with those condos. So the process to sell those condos will remain almost as simple as selling a single family home. So that's kind of the beautiful thing. It's another piece of the legislation is demanding that cities and municipalities pass ordinances that streamline the building and permitting process. So what has been proposed in Everett is they cut those costs in half. So as I understand it. So, and I'm no expert, I don't want anybody to quote me on this, but that's how I understand that this could unfold. And so the city council in Everett they had a meeting, I think it was this week. They've got another one in a month. And these things could get passed very, very quickly. So they've already gone through several changes. So Everett is kind of on the forefront of what's happening with this increasing affordable housing. What was that term that they used?
Yeah, it wasn't
Mike Appleby used. It's no,
not additional housing.
No, it's expanding that goal is to expand the number of units at the lower end of the market. So capping it at 1,000 square feet per condo, which is actually detached single family, or you could sell off a duplex back there. You could build a duplex on there, right? Sell off the one parcel with the duplex. And then they can all be independently financed because there's all going to be separate parcels. So, so it's anyway. So it's going to create a lot of housing at that lower end of the housing market. So if a 1,000 square foot house in Everett is going to sell for 450 or 500,000, then we're going to have a lot more of those within the next year or two. So it's very interesting how that's going to unfold. And I can't wait to, for cities to start passing some of these ordinances. And then they have 6 months after they agree and they pass the ordinance to actually enact it. So they do have a little bit of time, but within the next 2 years, that'll be across the board. The counties that are impacted or the cities that are impacted will have those ordinances in place, or should have those ordinances in place, allowing higher density housing in certain communities. And if you're within, I think it's a half a mile of a transit center, I believe you can even build up to a sixplex. But then, I think with a sixplex, you have to have a couple of affordable housing units in there. So the ideal would be a fourplex. But anyway, there's just a lot of cool changes coming in the next couple of years. And in Everett, this could all happen within the next year. So it's very exciting. I can't wait to see how that unfolds. It's going to impact the value of people's property significantly, because you're going to be able to sell off the lots, or you can hire a builder to build your 1 or 2 ADUs on your lot if it falls within the certain regulations of the city, and that's going to make your property worth quite a bit more. So that's exciting to me. Myself, I don't live in Everett, but if I did, I'd be super stoked. I do have friends who live in Everett it is going to impact them. Yeah. So it's pretty exciting. It's has the potential to raise people's values in certain neighborhoods in Everett. So if you have an HOA, most HOAs prevent you from having more than one residence on a lot. So areas with HOAs, it's not going to impact. But places, that are not in an area where there's an HOA governing body, they are going to be able to take advantage, and in most cases, take advantage of the new ordinances, allowing for higher density housing. So it's very exciting. I mean, Mike Appleby with Chicago Title, he laid it all out for us.
Well, he sure did. And we on the one hand, we talk about how tight the housing market is, and it is, and there's no question, even though it's getting a little bit softer, but it's still tight. It's real tight. But the interesting part is, if you're looking forward 18 to 24 months, or even less than that in Everett, you're going to start to see improvement. and people aren't just ignoring, when I say people, I mean, government entities and city and state entities. They're not ignoring the problem. It just takes time to work itself out. And that's kind of what we're going through right now, it seems like. So
yeah,
it's an interesting subject.
It is interesting. And I was skeptical right up first, and I was like, wait a second, this is actually doing what we need it to do. They're going to probably be a tad bit more expensive than a regular attached condo. But regardless of whether they come in the form of a duplex, which, by the way, you can sell the duplexes, the units separately with the duplex, right? So you could sell off. So that would be essentially two little lots, and you'd build a duplex on it, and they would both be sold separately as a condo, as condos. So it's
as a homeowner, you can do all this stuff yourself, basically split off the properties, build the two condos, if you will, or the ADUs, whatever you want to call them, but the condos, the condos. You can do the building yourself if you wanted to, or you could just sell the property to a builder or whoever.
And that's kind of how I see it going. I kind of see it going that potentially, so the beautiful thing is for, let's say you're a homeowner in Everett and you've lived there for 20, 25 years. You've raised your kids, you've retired. And so you're house rich, but cash poor. You almost have your house paid off, but maybe you don't qualify for a refinance or whatever, but you just need a little bit of pocket change to maybe even do some just repairs around the house. So you could literally, in my mind, this is me thinking, and I talked to Mike Appleby about this, and I think this is possibly a doable thing going forward. But in my mind, you sell off those two little lots, get your 150, 200,000, whatever those little lots are going to go for. And then you can put a large chunk of what you just sold, the large chunk of the cash that you just got from selling off those two lots, and have your loan reworked and apply a good chunk of that cash towards your balance. And then the lender will recalculate your payment. So you can get a lower payment, or you potentially could, or you could just hang on to the funds. Right?
Well,
and use it to live on or invest in other property. I mean, the opportunities are endless. I mean, that's something that you could do with literally little output of cash. So at some point, I don't know who pays for what here, but at some point there has to be a couple of connections to the sewer. There have to be a couple of water connections, and you've got to pull power from the pool. So there's going to be those costs, but I consider those development costs probably associated with the new condo parcels, as opposed to a cost that a seller would absorb. But those costs will be factored in when we're trying to determine how much those parcels would be worth. So it'll depend on where those utilities are. The other thing I want to mention, and this is very interesting, but the way the ordinance is written, I think that's what it's called, is an ordinance. I hope I'm right about that. But the way it's written is it specifically says if you're on an alley lot, you do not have a setback from the alley. You can build that structure right up to the edge of the alley. So, you could have a small home, 1,000 square foot home. It's a two-story. You could have the garage on the first floor and maybe a bedroom and walk up a flight for the main living area, and maybe have a 3 bedroom with a 1-car garage. But you could go right up to the alley. So it could create a situation where, if it's not a very deep lot, including the house in front, it allows that seller to have a little flexibility there because of that alley.
That's right.
They don't have to chew up as much of the seller's backyard. It frees up 5 feet, which doesn't sound like much, but when you're trying to build a couple of extra condos, that 5 feet can really matter, or whether it's doable or not, right?
Well, and plus it might not be as big a backyard as you had before, but maybe you still have a little room for some barbecuing and
listen, if you're selling off, 2,000-3,000 square feet and you're on, a 10,000 square foot lot, you still have 7,000 square feet. So, yes, the condos are going to have the really small yards more than likely. But the sellers could, potentially maintain a fairly decent backyard. I think the biggest drawback for a seller is that now you're probably going to have these 2 stacks. So the second floor, the people, the second story will be able to look into your backyard. That's what I'm trying to say. Which I'm not a fan of. I don't like people looking in my backyard. Hence, I have big trees. I got hedges. I have big trees brought in from big trees down the street over here in Snohomish. You know, I want my privacy. I don't want nobody seeing nothing going on in my place, not my yard.
Well,
I'd have a problem with those condos looking down at me.
All I can say, if I had some of those condos looking down at me, there would be nothing to see. So that they would be wasting their time. So, oh
But
gosh!
no, but I see it as a really viable solution for a lot of people that have that scenario where they.
Well, the thing is, especially if you've had your kids move out, let's just say, and they moved out, you don't need as much room for the backyard anyway. It's not that big a deal, and you can bring people in and reduce your the amount that you owe on your mortgage. Maybe you end up paying the rest of it off and pocketing a few bucks. And then you still get to live in the house that you've had for 20 or 30 years.
Yeah.
That's a heck of a good solution. It really is.
I think so. I think this is going to open up a wealth of possibilities. I'm super excited about it. We're kind of preliminary in talking about it right now because none of the ordinances have been passed. It's just the state legislature has passed some laws that impact the cities and the counties, especially ones that are located near or within the urban growth boundary. But even cities that are attached to cities that have the urban growth boundary in them will be impacted. So it's wide sweeping. It's probably the most important change in real estate. And I think Mike said 30 years, something like that. So yeah. It will have a direct impact on home values. And so I think that's going to make it very interesting.
It is.
It's going to make my job a little more challenging, but it should open up some inventory within the next 5 years.
Yes,
it's going to take a few years to get underway. So there's a relationship between what the bills that have been passed recently and what's been happening in Seattle, because Seattle passed some ordinances that allowed homeowners to build ADUs a little easier in their backyards. The difference is they're not allowed to sell them off. So they're allowed only to use them as rentals. So what they've done in the city of Seattle is they're allowing ADUs, and 1,000 of them were applied for last year alone. So they're allowing them to be built, but they're only for rent, only to be used for residential units. So, or if the owner has extended family. Right. So they're not allowing them to be sold off. So that's what's cool about what's being proposed in Everett and what the state legislature, what they actually put on the books to allow cities and counties to try to wrap their brains around. But I think it's exciting. I mean, the fact that we can sell them off as condos and individuals that are on the lower end of the price range, which $500,000 house a few years back was a chunk of change. So. Yeah. For that to be kind of more or less the bottom around here, I think it's exciting. It's so exciting because there's a lot more buyers in that $400,000 or $500,000 price range than there are above that.
That's right.
Of course, there's a few people with cash out there, and a lot of people that have really good earning, well-paying jobs, but. There are a lot of first-time homeowners or people moving from an attached condo, like, condominium complex. They might like a little freestanding condo, or a duplex situation where they actually have their own little yard for their pets. So I think it's super exciting. It just creates a whole nother level of housing that we really don't have much of today. We don't have little 1,000 square foot, 2-story homes on 1,500, 1,700, 1,800 square foot lots. So I think it's exciting.
Yeah, it is. You're absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head. It's going to change the complexion of real estate around.
It is. I think it's going to cause a mini housing boom. I really do. I think that there is going to be, because now this is the perfect, I don't want to call it a racket, but this is the perfect setup for small builders. So You know what I mean? Because they can tackle small projects like this, and they can have a couple going a year and make a living. So
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a niche for small builders to come back and work in Washington State.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely right. So, well, with that, let's see here. What time is it here? 5:30. So
Is it
we
5:30? I've been doing this for like an hour. Oh my God.
Time has been flying.
Okay. Well, I'm going to sign off my TikTok.
Okay.
All right.
I will end our broadcast here, and then we'll hang up after the
Okay.
broadcast.
Where? Oh,